Welcome to Byju's, and today we'll be dealing with the introduction to internal security. Internal security. Now, this is a topic which is very interesting. This is a topic that, is very important from the mains perspective. Consider it as a good news that you don't have to worry about it in the prelims exam. So what is internal security syllabus and what will we be dealing with when it comes to internal security? What are the core areas? So we will see it one by one in this schedule of ours. So coming to the syllabus. The syllabus, when we think about it, is very concise and most linked with the present internal security challenges in the country. So the idea here is the most important and relevant internal security threats of last 1 year, that will be the most important or the core focus area of our preparation. Yes, we will also deal with those topics which are lying on the fringe side, but then our focus will largely remain on the events that have unfolded in the last 1 year or in the subsequent years, like a recurring threat, case in point being drug trafficking or terrorism or even communal threat. So on and so forth, we will see each and every topic. That is how we will be analyzing it. And because we are focusing on a very narrow, limited of topics here, it is easy to comprehend, it is easy to study, and if at all it is studied like a story, then you will get the facts with you. You will be able to put it up in the answer without any difficulty. Don't worry, to teach you it like a story, you can leave it to us, follow our instructions, and then the rest, as they say, is history. 4 to 5 questions are being asked every year in GS Mains Paper 3. Static questions are being asked by connecting them to current affairs of internal security. So simple things could be asked. Case in point being, what is terrorism? What is left-wing extremism? So simple definitions may be asked, and that is where UPSC is actually expecting you to know certain basic things, because we could be knowing about international affairs, we could be knowing about geographical, phenomena, etc. But ultimately, are we able to define the most simplest of the things and explain them in a very lucid manner? So simple definitions and the complex phenomenon associated with it, the myriad challenges, all these will be covered in the module that we are going to deal with in future. Internal security is just GS Mains specific and not included in the GS preliminary syllabus of UPSC. At least directly you are not going to get a question at all. Geographically you may get a question, very rarely, but other than that, direct questions from this portion is not important from a prelims perspective. It is important only from the perspective of mains exam. Coming to the general studies main syllabus with regard to internal security, how is the syllabus broken up into? What are the areas that we are going to focus on? Linkages between development and spread of extremism. Now, when we say extremism, anything that is more than the golden mean is extreme. So, an extreme type of movement in terms of, let us say, communal hatred when you talk about, or communal violence when we talk about, what is that? It is the extreme form of communalism, where you believe that the person who is not having your religion or is not abiding by your faith is your enemy and therefore needs to be killed. Left-wing extremism, when we talk about, it is basically what? A total antipathy to the state, as a result of which you feel the state and the representatives of the state, consisting of, let us say, the police force, the military, the central armed police force, etc., needs to be seen as the enemy and they need to be killed. So over and above, you can clearly see the core idea here is what? At the heart of all of it is what? Extreme hatred. It could be against a system, it could be against a community, it could be against a gender, so on and so forth. So how each one of these will have an impact on development. Role of external, state and non-state actors in creating challenges to internal security. So these could be groups. These are groups within the country which pose a challenge to the nation's stability. There are groups that are working outside the country to hamper the nation. So we are going to deal with both and see how it will affect what the overall integrity of India, the overall communal harmony of India, and the overall internal security structure of the country. Challenges to internal security through communication networks, the role of media and social networking sites in internal security challenges, basics of cyber security, money laundering and its prevention are some of the core topics that we will be taking up. Because if you look at these topics here, the role of media and social networking and cyber security, money laundering, one simple read will tell you what these are the current as well as recurring issues that have been taking the center stage when it comes to internal security challenge. So it is very important that we understand the root cause of this problem, starting with the definition, all the way to its nature of complexity. Also, we will try to understand why, even though we know what is the problem, what are the challenges associated, why are we not able to find a single silver bullet to solve it. So we will be analyzing each and every internal security threat in detail, and we will be tackling it in a way so that in the exam, it should become a cakewalk for you. Clear? Security challenges and their management in border areas, linkage of organized crime with terrorism. Again, it is the myriad of challenges that are associated with tackling internal security, various security forces and agencies and their mandate. So various security forces, when we talk about, say for example, NIA, Enforcement Directorate, or the Central Armed Police Force, all these will come into picture here. Obviously, we need not sit and learn, the entire NIA's charter or Enforcement Directorate's charter. No. With UPSC, one must always understand it is not about how much you study, but to put a limit and know where exactly to stop. So we will exactly focus on those target areas which are really necessary to get that very essential fodder points to put up a very good answer for your UPSC mains. No preparation is complete without analyzing the previous year question papers, because the previous year question papers is nothing but a roadmap as to what to prepare, which areas to target. And again, when we talk about internal security, when we take a threat based on, okay, let us say it was asked in the previous years, you have to see one more thing there. Is it still relevant? Is it still relevant as an internal security threat? Because obviously you will be dealing with current affairs of last 1 year, you will be reading it, and then you will be coming across, even internal security topics there. So you should try to see whether the topic, what you're preparing on, does it require extensive preparation or not. So once again, if you see, internal security mains questions, trend analysis from 2013 onwards when we see, look at this topic here, money laundering and black money. 2013, one question was asked. Afterwards, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, not a single question was asked, but once again in 2021, it came back. Which simply means any paper, this rule applies for any paper, including your optional. If a particular topic has come 10 years ago, just once, what does it mean? You still have to prepare it. At least a minimum basic, so that you get at least a minimum mark for it. In the worst case scenario that the topic comes again, you should be prepared. That is the idea. Clear? Coming to the next topic, social media related internal security challenge was asked in 2013. Afterwards, directly a question has not come. However, when you look into the topic of cyber security, what do you see? Except for the year 2014, cyber security as a topic has appeared in the paper without fail every year. Why? Cyber security threats or cyber related crimes itself, if you see, year on year, it is increasing by more than 120% every year. And the percentage is also rising because sometimes it shoots up by 150, 180, 200, 300 and it just keeps going on. So cyber security challenge is a reality and we should prepare on this topic extensively. Coming to left-wing extremism also, if you see, one question in 2014, one question in 15, another question in 18, another question in 20. On and off, which is exactly the way the left-wing extremism related news articles appear in the newspaper. Some years it is total silence, hardly any news. And suddenly we hear there was an improved explosive device blasting. There is a news about, let us say, CRPF Jawans losing their life, so on and so forth. and suddenly left-wing extremism once again catches the national attention. This is the way things are going. So accordingly, we need to prepare it, which means we cannot ignore this topic either. Border issues along the eastern and western side. So eastern side border issues offers us certain unique challenges. Western side border again throws us unique challenges geographically, historically, politically, etc. So each of this we must be able to analyze. So in 2013 this was asked, 14 it was asked, 16 two questions were asked, 18 and one question in 2019 which was associated with what? The border challenges or issues associated with Northeast. Clear? And two questions once again in 2020. So as you can clearly see, these are some of the very important topics that we need to discuss or rather study in detail. Communalism, if you see, only one question was asked, that too back in 2014. But of late, even though major large-scale riots, thankfully and by God's grace, have not taken place in the country, we can clearly see based out of communalism, hate crimes are on the rise. When hate crimes are increasing, it is very essential what we need to learn to tackle it. So what are the legal challenges? What are the legal opportunities available to tackle it? How to increase the conviction rate? How to see to it that people are sensitized to respect another man's faith or another man's opinion without getting or without being intolerant to it. And finally, security threats with regard to aviation. As a question, as a topic, it had come in 2014. Afterwards, we cannot see a single question with regard to it. But of late, if you see, increased amount of drone attacks is coming from the Pakistan side. So drone attacks is happening in the sense that they are flying these drones basically as what? Trials to check whether Indian forces are capable enough to deal with such attacks. Drones have been notorious for passing on parcels that contains drugs from Pakistan side to Indian side. So if you can carry drugs and send, you can very well send weapons too, at least small weapons or at least explosives. So these are some of the emerging threats. So from a futuristic perspective also, we need to prepare on these topics so that we have the vision to see how to deal with such form of threat. It doesn't end there. We will see few more topics. The other topics are piracy, AFSPA, terrorism, mob attacks, insurgency, drug trafficking, and internal security. So if you actually see in that again, terrorism takes the lead. There is no surprise here because ever since a Pakistani general apparently went on record to say that to defeat India in an open war is difficult. So let us bleed India through 1,000 cuts. Terrorist activities or terror-related violence in our country was on the rise. Thankfully, our security forces have been able to keep most of the terror attacks on our country at bay in the last few years. So, we will see how it is a threat. And here again, if you notice this topic here, piracy, only one question was asked back in the year 2014 and afterwards it has not come. So, should we prepare for it? Because considering the fact that when we talk about, let us say, the Indian Ocean, when we talk about the Indian Ocean, we can clearly see what? We can clearly see that pirate-related attacks in this region has considerably reduced in the last few years. So, as a topic, when you see in Indian Ocean or internationally also, piracy has reduced as a threat. So, should we study it? We should. Why? Because it has appeared as a question and we never know when, on what fine day, again pirates will raise their ugly heads again. So we should see to it that we should try to cover all the topics that have come in the exam. Mob attacks, just one question. But again, if you see, mob related attacks is on the decline. But however, we have to see to it that we cover this topic also. Insurgency in Northeast, drug trafficking, overall internal security challenge. So all these questions agreed has appeared only once. But if you look into the terms of terror or in terms of the violence that these can unleash, what does it mean? we need to cover this topic on greater detail than probably what we will give for piracy. Clear? So this is how we will be taking up our syllabus. This is how we will be discussing things. So what is the course outline that we are going to have? Let us see that in detail now. So as part of the course outline, we will define the various forms of extremism, because like I told you, we will be knowing about everything, like how left-wing extremism started. We can talk about Naxalbari village. We can talk about the ideology behind it, the philosophy behind it, the red corridor, the maps, everything we know. And finally, UPSC will ask something as simple as what is left-wing extremism? What are the challenges associated with it? What measures will you suggest to rectify it? Something as direct and as simple as that. But to even proceed with that question, you should know the basic thing, which is what? Defining it. So extremism in India, when we can talk about left-wing extremism, northeast insurgency, religious fundamentalism, and terrorism. So each of these, defining it and trying to find out which are the core areas where you have a persistent threat, a threat element. The conflict regions, how mining, natural vegetation, and other aspects are linked to the spread of extremism. How is that possible? Basic idea is this much. What do you think is the basic reason for all types of crime? Crime can happen due to a sudden aggravated passion, anger, greed, lust. That is different. But these types of crime that we are talking about, these threats that we are talking about to our internal security, is largely related with what? A persistent problem that is there in the society. What is that? Poverty. One who is able to sleep with a filled stomach under a roof, why will that person be worried about anything? Getting the idea? So it is not just poverty that sometimes leads to internal security challenge. I'm not saying that is the only cause. No, that is in fact one of the major cause. But apart from that, there are other aspects also that we need to discuss here, and we will be taking each and every one of them. Clear? So, development and spread of extremism, larger reason is the development divide, because some areas getting too much of focus, some areas not getting any focus at all. Left-wing extremism, terrorism, northeast insurgency in detail and its causes, the spread and development strategies. All these elements will be discussed in detail. Initiatives for left-wing extremism affected states by the government. So we will see state-wise what initiatives have been taken with regard to, surrendering the weapons and then getting back into the system. All these will be what? Taken up in detail. Now let us see a few previous year questions just to give you an idea. Or definitely we'll be taking these up in detail while we are taking up our modules. But then just to give you a rough idea so that your thinking, your thought process, all the neurons in your brain are aligned towards UPSC's mains GS3 questions on internal security. Analyze the complexity and intensity of terrorism, the causes, linkages, and obnoxious nexus. Also suggest measures required to be taken to eradicate the menace of terrorism. The complexity and intensity. Why is it so complex? So what have I done here? I have literally underlined the keywords, which is one of the basic things that you should be following throughout your preparation, even right into your UPSC mains exam. Underlining the keywords. So obviously, what should I do? Why is terrorism so complex? So definition would mean what? Definition, I would start my answer with defining what is terrorism. Why is it complex? Why is it so intense? What are the causes, linkages, and nexus? Nexus means colluding together. Who all are colluding together here in this? What are the steps required to eradicate them? And obviously the way forward. If you clearly see, I have just wrote a roadmap of writing a nearly perfect answer for the UPSC mains question, which clearly means what? Clearly shows you how to write the answer. That means in our modules here, It is not just that I'll be teaching you. I'll be also teaching you how to write an answer for an internal security question. Is it only for internal security, sir, that I can use this? Can't I use the same strategy for other questions? You can. You must. Getting the picture? So it is going to be completely holistic, people. It is not that, just teaching you and I will go away. No. A holistic preparation. So that all you may have to do is what? Update yourself with a little amount of data. Like for example, how many terror attacks have taken place? According to data from, let us say, Ministry of Home Affairs. So flow charts like these, data charts like these, you can make. And what is the other thing that you can do? Drawing the Indian map. So these three elements will be core part of our strategy. And this is something that you will practice throughout. Getting the picture? Because ultimately, even when you are appointed as a district collector, and when nothing is going to work, and there is an Air Force pilot waiting for you to give the latest update on which part of the district now requires help from the Indian Air Force, what do? Nothing is working. The towers are down. The internet is down. Electricity is down. You only have him there. He's asking you for an update because it is not he who is asking. The command has come directly from the PMO. So what do? You grab a paper. You draw a rough map of the district. You shade the area that is completely cut off. And then you give a data. How much more additional supplies you need. Because you believe these many people are trapped there. How much additional choppers do you need for rescuing the people? So on and so forth. So this is your job. Drawing things, giving the data, answering to the point is going to be part of your job right from day one. So where do we start that? We don't wait to go to Labasana and learn all this. We are going to do it right here itself. So clear with that. Moving on. Role of external state and non-state actors in creating challenges to internal security. Here we'll be seeing external actors such as China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Bhutan and Nepal. How do they create challenges to internal security? So the threats from these countries is not just associated with terrorism, but it is associated with money laundering, it is associated with cyber security, it is associated with drug trafficking, it is associated for creating border skirmishes, all of that. And support of the external actors towards insurgent groups, Naxalites or separatist groups through funding, training or logistics. So how they are using them, how it is all interconnected and how the such unholy nexus is leading to what? Creating troubles for India. Clear? So we will be taking all this in detail. The non-state actors, who are the non-state actors here? We are talking about Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Toiba, Ulfa and others in creating challenges to internal security. So we will be taking up all these, associations, the associations of terrorists or insurgents, and we will see how they are creating trouble. It is not that we will be dealing about their ideology or how they are functioning or working. No, that is not the purpose here. But we should know at least a few of these terrorist organizations as well as insurgent groups that are a constant pain for Indian administration. Clear? Moving further. Again, look at the question that appeared in 2021. Analyze the multidimensional challenges posed by external state and non-state actors to the internal security in India. Also discuss measures required to be taken to combat these threats. So external state and non-state actors means you should have a clear idea who are the external state actors and who are the non-state actors. This idea should be there because only if you know this, based on this, you can talk about what? The measures. That is how it should go. It is not that you randomly write, okay, how to deal with terrorism, how to deal with insurgency. That is not the purpose of the question. Purpose of the question is who are the external state actors, who are the non-state actors, and how is the threat posed by these actors to the internal security, what measures will you suggest for it? That is the way you have to write. You have to always write to the demand of the question rather than dump whatever you have studied or whatever you know. Clear, people? 15 marks, 250 words, 2021. That means what? 2.5 pages easily. Clear? Challenges to internal security through communication networks, the role of media and social networking sites in internal security challenges, the basics of cyber security. So here if you see how media and social networking sites pose a threat to internal security, more often than not, thanks to these people who are deans and professors of WhatsApp University, what ends up happening is doctored videos that comes from other side of the border. That comes in here, it gets spread in WhatsApp under a different tag. People from X community is ill-treating the people from Y community, and immediately it spreads like a wildfire. When the security agencies goes behind the origin of the video, then they get to know that the video did not originate in India, but it originated in Pakistan. So such things actually needs to be put an end to. And the worst problem is it is very easy through social networking sites these days to actually spread falsehood. How media is misused again to spread violence or hate speech. How can we counter these? What is the role of government? What are the rules, guidelines, and the other rules that are there for news and digital media when it comes to what? When it comes to processing the information that they have, and how do they deliver the news? This is the idea. Clear? Coming to cyber security, what are the different types of cyber security threats? What are the steps taken by the government? The IT Act of 2000, what do you mean by CERT-in? National Cyber Security Policy of 2013. What are these things? So each one of this we'll have to see it in detail, because we know cyber security is a very important topic from UPSC perspective. Coming to the previous year question, different types of cyber crimes and measures required to be taken to fight the menace. 15 marks, 250 words. So obviously answer should start with what? Definition. Then the different types of cybercrime. So when they ask about the different types of cybercrime, what are they asking? They are asking for the data there, specific data. So you have to mention what crime also took place. One line is enough, need not write the entire story there. But don't worry, that and all is for a later part. All this will be taught to you. All this will be taught to you. I am repeating it again, so that you don't have to worry. By the time we are done with this internal security module, you will be knowing that, okay, you will be feeling totally happy that at least 3 to 4 questions when it comes in UPSC means I will be able to deal with it. Clear? Money laundering and its prevention. So what do you mean by money laundering? What do you mean by terrorist financing? What do you mean by financial action task force? What are the measures taken by the government to prevent money laundering? What do you mean by the Prevention of Money Laundering Act? What is the amendment made to it in 2019? All that will be discussed in detail. Because if not here, at least you will be able to use them for your economic questions. That appears in UPSC. You can even use them in your international relation questions. Application. So the holistic preparation of this particular topic's other advantages, you can take valuable points from here and use it elsewhere. How to do that? That also will be taught to you. Need not worry. Coming to the previous year question, India's proximity to 2 of the world's biggest illicit opium growing states has enhanced our internal security concerns. Explain the linkages between drug trafficking and other illicit activities such as gun running, money laundering, and human trafficking. What countermeasures should be taken to prevent the same? So we are basically talking about India's western border, eastern border. How these 2 areas are responsible for supplying drugs into the country. And how this is related to what? Gun running, money laundering, and human trafficking. How drug-related activities is helping other crimes to flourish. And how that is causing trouble to India. What measures now will you suggest to prevent the same? Understood the holistic aspect of it? So once again you can see I am drawing the western map. Again I agree, my western border is not so great. But the eastern border, the idea you got. The idea here is to explain the issue there. Clear? And how it is all interconnected. So this holistic idea is what we are going to focus on our internal security modules. Clear? security challenges and their management in border areas, linkages of organized crime with terrorism, India's border and border management, Ministry of Home Affairs, the Department of Border Management, One Border, One Force policy, challenges in borders with Pakistan, China, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar. So all the border issues will be discussed here. So when border issue, when we talk about, does drug trafficking become an issue there? Yes. Arms and ammunitions being passed over the border? Yes. Human trafficking? Yes. Smuggling? Yes. So each one of these issues we'll be taking up in detail. Clear, people? The coastal security, linkages of organized crime with terrorism. As you can clearly see, there is multiple overlap happening here. Clear? So exactly to define and say, okay, terrorism means we'll be only dealing with terrorism here. No, terrorism has association with cross-border terror. It has association with drug trafficking. It has association with smuggling. It has association with human trafficking, all of that. So that holistic aspect is what we are going to cover, because that in itself is the reason why terrorism is so complex to deal with. And obviously the coastal security, which we cannot ignore because the memories of 26/11 is still fresh in our minds. Alright, so coastal security also we'll be talking about, and we will see how to enhance it. Analyze internal security threats and trans-border crimes along Myanmar, Bangladesh and Pakistan borders, including the line of control. Also discuss the role played by various security forces in this regard. So the threat along Pakistan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, LOC. 4 clear demarcated regions they have given. That means what? You have to draw the map there. Then discuss the role played by the security forces. That means who are the security forces who are responsible for dealing with threats in each of these areas. So that also will be covered. Clear? You are getting a hang of the subject now. Various security forces, the agencies and their mandate. Say for example, armed forces, special forces, central intelligence agencies, central investigation agencies and central armed police forces. The Chief of Defence Staff, the role and significance of CDS. Armed forces comprising Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and obviously now we will have to talk about what the latest and the new scheme, Agniveer. Special forces, Para SF Special Forces, Marcos, that is Marine Commandos. So obviously you need not deal with their, what is it, each and everybody, what do they do, what is their role. Brief idea you should be knowing. Brief idea. Clear. Central intelligence agencies such as Intelligence Bureau and Research and Analysis Wing, investigation agencies such as NIA, CBI, ED and NCB. That is National Investigative Agency, Central Bureau of Investigation, Enforcement Directorate and Narcotics Control Bureau. CAPFs comprising of Border Security Force, Sahastra Seema Bal, Indo-Tibetan Border Police, Assam Rifles, Central Industrial Security Force and Central Reserve Police Force. And police reforms, like what initiatives are needed to actually improve the working style of the police in our country to make them more efficient and more sensitive to the problems of the people. So all these aspects will be dealt with. What are the determinants of left-wing extremism in the eastern part of India? What strategy should the government of India, civil administration and security forces adopt to counter the threat in the affected areas? 15 marks, 250 words, direct question. So obviously the Red Corridor, etc., all that aspect will come here, including the initiatives made by both the state as well as the central governments to reduce the scourge of left-wing extremism. How to approach the subject? See, approaching the subject, what I would suggest is you should approach it like a story. Because simply by hearting things, simply remembering a lot of facts is not enough. You should be in a position to appreciate it. Now, why am I insisting on appreciating the subject or actually being sensitive towards these topics? Because you can get this question even in your interview board. So there it is expected that you deal with it very professionally. You answer it very professionally in understanding it. You have to come across as a person who understands our country's troubles. Our country's troubles, you understand it, you know how to deal with it, you know what measures to be taken there. That is the idea. So we will be handling it in exactly that way. So data, yes, few data you must have with you. But then we should know what is the top and end of it, and obviously how it has evolved, what are the present challenges. So when you know it like a story, right from the root cause to the present scenario, it becomes very easy to put in data there and remember the facts. Otherwise, simply going by facts, if you go, okay, this is what the definition is, this is what the problems are, this is what the challenges are, that is not enough. You need to understand the problems in detail. You should understand and you should actually empathize and sympathize with the millions of people who are affected by various internal security challenges in our country. Only then you become a true IAS aspirant. Better still, an IAS officer. Clear, people? So, we will be approaching every topic in detail. We will be covering all its aspects, like the complexity of it in terms of why, when, where, what, how, and yes, sometimes the who also. All these aspects will be covered, and obviously we'll be dealing with what? How to deal with the complexity through countermeasures. So each topic will be broken up, and again we will see, because of this, how it affects our country. Clear, people? This is how we will be handling it, and this is how you will be remembering it in your preparation. Clear? What are the sources to refer here? Yes, definitely daily newspaper, the Byju's material, government websites like IDSA and MHA. So you don't have to worry about the government websites here. See, when we talk about referring government websites or even daily newspaper, it is only meant for what? The purpose of updation. The core subject is static. That is, when I say core subject is static, what does it mean? Say, for example, like I told you, in the case of left-wing extremism, it has its origin from where? Naxalbari village in West Bengal. Or if I have to say terrorism in Kashmir, or terrorism overall increased in India post the disintegration of Soviet Russia, then in 1991, after 1990s only, we can see terrorism, spreading its ugly tentacles all over our country. So that also remains the same. It is just in terms of the data, that is in 2017-18, how many terror attacks were there, or in 1920, how many insurgents surrendered, or in 2021, how many left-wing extremists surrendered. Those are the latest data that you need to keep a lookout for. Other than that, the fundamental challenges, the fundamental measures, that is not going to change. Clear, people? So this is how the entire internal security syllabus is going to unwrap itself in front of you. So we have seen the syllabus. We saw the importance in terms of the number of questions that were asked from different topics. We also saw how we are going to deal with it. We also saw what are the materials to refer, and hope now you have a holistic idea. And with that, we come to an end of our session. So let us join in this journey together and deal with each and every problem of our great country in terms of internal security challenges. Thank you.